Greetings and salutations. My name is Schwahn and welcome to the channel, and today we are going to be talking about the Game Awards. We're going to be taking a look at the nominees. We're going to take a little bit of a discussion about who we think is going to win. I have not looked at most of these. I have seen a little bit here and there. I've been seeing people talk about like, oh, this should win, or this, like, I know that apparently like the Kirby and the Forgotten Land apparently is basically completely absent from this, that it got snubbed in a lot of categories that people thought it should have been in. But for the most part, I do not know the vast majority of what is in this, of what we're going to see, what got nominated for which categories. So this is very much a blind go in. It's going to start out a little unexciting, okay? Because the Game Award, the Game of the Year award, is the first category. They start at the top and they go to the bottom. And I was like, all right, well, let's start at the bottom and go to the top, which means we're starting in the 31st category, which is Best Esports Event, which personally, I don't care that much. But we will go through them and we'll talk about them anyway. So we're just going to jump right into this because this is probably going to take a little bit of time. So the sooner we get started, the sooner that we'll actually start making progress on this. So Best Esports Event, recognizing an event across single or multiple days that delivered a best of class experience for participants and the broadcast audience. It's always Worlds League. That's the one that I initially go to as well, Eve. I don't play League of Legends basically at all anymore, but I always constantly feel that League of Legends and Worlds, they do so much for it. They do their new songs, they do animations, they put out a lot of marketing. You see a lot of work with the different teams and the different players. And across the history of Worlds, it definitely feels like such a major event, okay? And like, admittedly, because I'm not super plugged into esports, I don't know what some of these are. Like PGL, is that Pro Golf League? Is that what that is? Are people playing fucking like golf? And the 2022 Mid-Season Invitational? Mid-Season Invitational for what? What game is it? What are we playing? So I don't even know what those two are. A lot of Worlds this year is ruined by Little Nas X. Really? I mean, I don't know the context of that because like I watched the videos and stuff that were like part of the marketing and I enjoyed them, but that doesn't mean that other people didn't enjoy them or there was other issues with it. That said, I don't remember if Evo was nominated for a Game Award previously, and I personally really like Evo. I don't necessarily think it is as big or as a spectacle as something like League of Legends Worlds is. And while there, unfortunately, very recently was some significant amount of drama surrounding the organizers of Evo, Evo is something that I think is special. Because Evo, unlike League of Legends Worlds, or I'm guessing like Valorant Champions, which are just these big competitive events, Evo also feels like a celebration of fighting games. And that is something that I think makes for a better event than just a big competitive event like Worlds. Evo always has felt like this special event, this special moment, and we see moments in Evo bleeding outside of the fighting game community into a larger game space because of how special some moments of Evo have been. So that's actually what I'm going to vote for. I don't believe it'll win. I think that it is actually going to probably go to Worlds because that's practically what it always goes to. But I'm going to vote for Evo because Evo is special to me. Never even heard about it. Well, alas, here we are. It's a Belgian global offensive. Okay, it's Counter-Strike. Okay. I see. All right, what's next? Best esports coach. I could not tell you at all. Do you even tell us what game you guys are in? You're holding a trophy. You're holding the Valorant trophy. So you're a Valorant coach. I don't like Valorant that much, so we're not voting for you. Oh, it says what games are down here. Valorant, CSGO, and LOL. Crap. All right, here you go. Go score. You score, you get my vote, just because I don't care about Valorant and I care zero about Counter-Strike Go. So good luck to you, Score. I don't really care about League anymore either, but okay. Best esports team. Never heard of Dark Zero Esports. I actually do not like FaZe Clan in general. I have not heard of Genji. I'm not a big fan of LA Thieves. I've not heard of Loud. Your Call of Duty, Valorant, CSGO, League of Legends. Here, Dark Zero, congratulations. I like Score since he's the only one with actual style. He showed up. Best esports athlete. Faker is still in this. Good Lord. Man. Here you go, Faker, just because it's Faker. All right, we're going to be moving through these at a decent rate because these end-of-show ones are not ones that I invest a lot into personally. Best esports game. For the game that has delivered the best overall esports experience to players, inclusive of tournaments, community support, and content updates, irrespective of genre or platform. Okay, that is not Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike, I do believe, is still one of the largest and most successful esports, but I don't feel like it has these things in the form of community support and content updates. Counter-Strike has been coasting for a long time. When it's down, just choose Faker. Yeah, you can just, that's just one of those names you can, throw out there. Faker. Dota 2, I don't know how it fits. Like, all of these games have tournaments, right? All of these games and tournaments are going to be hit or miss depending on who's presenting them. So for me, it's going to come down to what I feel has good community support and content updates. I do not believe Counter-Strike has that. I never see people talking about Dota 2, even though it is always has a ton of players on Steam. League of Legends, like Eve just said, it's not very good with content updates. They are so focused on their esports team, their esports structure, that they actually have completely gutted the idea of content updates, which I feel is really important, really unfortunate. Because one of the things that made me fall in love with League way back when was how much support the game was getting. And I don't feel like it gets a lot of support anymore because they're so focused on competitive balance. And I feel like that's really unfortunate. I think we all more or less grew out of LoL. I think LoL stopped caring about its players as much. And I think it's strictly because of how large of an esport it became. Dota 2 might have the best community support. League hasn't changed a thing in 4 or 5 seasons. I mean, they've changed things, but it definitely hasn't felt like content updates. Valorant's still really young. I'm just going to vote Dota 2. I'm going to go on that just because they're the ones that I hear the least crap about. Most anticipated game. Oh, man. All right, well, this already wins in terms of what is going to get the vote. Like, the award goes to Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. If it doesn't, somebody lied, okay? Somebody absolutely lied. They filled these in because they needed to have other games in the category, not because they actually expected them to win the category. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is the winner. It is not my most anticipated game. My most anticipated game is Final Fantasy 16. I do not give a shit about Hogwarts Legacy. Resident Evil 4 looks really good and I'm excited about it. Starfield I'm going to play, but let me tell you what, Bethesda games are never something I'm hyped about. I know what I'm getting into and I'm going to like them and I'm going to enjoy them, but I am never just like, oh my god, a new Bethesda game. They're the same. There's improvements. They make them look better. They sometimes make them run better. You get sometimes slightly different mechanics, but they're always the same game. Do not get excited for them. So, Starfield or Legend of Zelda? I think Legend of Zelda beats out Starfield wholesale. Like, if Legend of Zelda wasn't here and you put in Pragmata or something else in this slot, I do believe that Starfield would take it. But I don't believe that there is a game coming out that can hold a candle to the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I don't think that that's even a conversation that can be had. Even at the bigger esports focus of LoL, Dota 2 seemingly does have better community support by the custom games. And I really think that's one of the things that League of Legends moved away from is really community casual support. And they've even admitted to how much they've dropped things like custom game modes and new game modes and things focused on fun because they just want to keep focusing on their core gameplay. But for this category, Final Fantasy 16 for sure is the game that I am most excited about. Number 2 would probably be Resident Evil 4. Number 3 would be a toss-up between these two. I'm not sure which one I'm actually more excited for or more anticipated for. And Hogwarts Legacy can just fuck off. Like, it can just go away. Best Adaptation. Recognizing outstanding creative work that faithfully and authentically adapts a video game to another entertainment medium. Our options are Arcane, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, The Cuphead Show, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Uncharted. So, I will admit, the only one of these that I have seen is Arcane. That is the only one that I have watched. Which one do I think will win? I think it's Arcane. I do believe that if Arcane wasn't here, that Cyberpunk Edgerunners would probably win hands down, no contest. It's kind of like what we just got done talking about, where Starfield would win no questions, no hold bars, if for most anticipated game, if The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was not in that category. Unfortunately, because there is just something that is such a definitive winner, Starfield has no chance. And I feel like that is where this will be as well. Arcane, whether you like it or not, or whether you like League of Legends or not, Arcane is going to be one of the largest historical hallmark pillars of animation, not just video game adaptation, of animation moving forward throughout the rest of history. This was an incredible piece of media that is unlike anything that was ever made before it. And it is going to set a new standard for comparisons forever forward. It is going to set a comparison for animation, animation quality, animation depth, what you can do with a medium, both 2D and 3D and blended between the two. And forever forward, every single video game adaptation will be compared to Arcane. I cannot express just how truly revolutionary Arcane is going to be for a very significant amount of time moving forward. I have not seen all of Cyberpunk Edgerunners, but I have heard so much good stuff about it, and I've heard that they did a fantastic job with it. But I do believe that at the end of the day, it is just a really damn good anime that is based off of a video game and is not a piece of like masterwork creation that is Arcane. Arcane's story and characters you can debate all day long, but when we're talking about an adaptation with such an incredible creation, I don't believe there's a chance that anything could ever try to beat Arcane in this type of category. And I think that that's unfortunate, because when you do hit situations like that where there is just something that is so far and above and beyond other things, that it means that some other things like Cyberpunk Edgerunners just unfortunately will not get the credit that they definitely deserve for the work that they've done. You've seen them all but Uncharted. Maybe Sonic. I haven't seen Arcane, but then it seems like it might win. Arcane has already won dozens and dozens of awards, so like like I said, it's unfortunate for something like Cyberpunk, but yeah. Arcane just wrote people in, but I have yet to see it to gauge it. I'd really recommend it, Cerulean. I mean, it's like 9 hours. No, not quite 9 hours. It's long. So just as a heads up on that, it's only 9 episodes, but each episode is like 40 to 50 minutes long. So it's quite the adaptation. It's got a lot of content in it, but it's definitely worth your investment, even if you're not interested in League of Legends. You definitely get more out of it if you at least know the history of League of Legends, specifically the characters and the city that Arcane is taking place in, but it is good on its own, even if you don't know anything. Arcane did what video game movies and shows have always wanted to do. Yeah. Like, I tried to watch the Dota show, but it was interwoven with needing to know the characters, so you never got into it. Movies versus shows, I don't know. You know, that's also fair. I don't know anything about the Cuphead show, and I've heard great things about both Sonic movies, but Sonic and Uncharted are both Hollywood movies versus direct-to-streaming series in Arcane and Cyberpunk, and that's very different. But adaptations of a video game work to another medium are going to be very limited. So I don't have the access to see it. That is understandable as to why you haven't seen it. All right, what's next? Best debut indie. Ooh. Well, there's 5 games on that list. We have Neon White, Norco, Stray, Tunic, and Vampire Survivors. Vampire Survivors per unit sold. Yeah, to the single dev that started Vampire Survivors, I hope you're enjoying your money and you deserve every bit of it. Because they've sold millions of copies of Vampire Survivors. And, you know, my personal vote goes to Vampire Survivors, but I could see Stray taking this. I don't know, like, I've heard good things about Neon White. I know very little about Norco. Tunic is just a very good modern adaptation of old school Zelda games, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's these two fighting each other. I think it's Stray and Vampire Survivors just duking it out. And for different reasons. Stray for being the cat game, for being a very beautiful game, for trying to be something that is outside the box. I don't agree with a lot of things in Stray. I like the idea of it. I have my personal problems with it. But I do see where this will attract a lot of eyes. But for people that have played it, Vampire Survivors was such... It was the unique outside-the-box game. This ended up not being a unique outside-the-box game, in my opinion. Vampire Survivors is. Vampire Survivors started the Survivor genre. It did. And I don't feel like Stray actually did anything inside a new genre. It is a pretty standard, like, platform puzzle adventure game that is disguised as the cat game. So I see Tunic being played by folks. Tunic is a great game. It's a fantastic game. And it definitely is a great debut for the Tunic team in Finji. But I don't believe that it wins this category over Stray or Vampire Survivors. Tunic is too much of a Zelda clone. Because of that, it's overshadowed by what it tries to emulate. Exactly. And that's exactly it. Great game, but I don't believe... It is such a good game, but I don't believe it actually stands out to be the best debut indie over even Neon White. Neon White, Stray, and Vampire Survivors, but really it's these two. My vote goes to Vampire Survivors, but I would not be surprised in the slightest if Stray won. Cat gon' win. Cat very easily could win. Content Creator of the Year. This is one of the categories that I have seen people talking about a whole bunch. For a streamer or content creator who has made an important and positive impact on the community in 2022. Carl Jacobs, Ludwig, Nebellion, Nobrew, and Cutie Cinderella. So I will say I have no idea who Nobrew is. Never heard his name in the slightest. Don't know. The other 4 I do know. The one I know the least out of the other 4 is Carl Jacobs. But Ludwig, Nibel, and Cutie Cinderella, I'm a little bit more familiar with. And Nibel, or Nebellion, in the middle here, is the one that has been the one that most people have been the most controversial about as being on this list of nominations. So, Nibel, or Nebellion, or Nibble, I don't know if anyone actually knows how it's pronounced. If you don't know, Nibel, the reason that their inclusion as a nominee in this is that they were strictly a Twitter creator. But their Twitter, what they did on Twitter was they were an aggregator. They got a lot of news from a lot of sources, condensed it down, and made it easy to understand and consume all in a single Twitter feed. They had information almost instantaneously and sometimes before other places would get it. They sometimes beat out news sources. They were a news-focused Twitter page, okay? And they recently announced that they were retiring They were no longer going to be participating on Twitter. This is primarily because the job of news aggregation and trying to get it into a concise format that fit onto Twitter was a lot of work, and they weren't able to monetize it in a way that they were able to turn it into their job, so they quit, which is fine. I hold nothing against them for that. But the question became, are they a content creator that is worthy of being called the content creator of the year when all they did was aggregate news together for you, right? And I think that is a worthy debate to have. I'm not super interested in having it right now, okay? But I don't, wherever you land on that is up to you. If you want to have a discussion about it, we can do so in the comments, but I don't believe that when we're just talking about these nominations as a whole, I don't feel like getting into the nitty-gritty about it. This is the cringe category. Which one of these people is going to go on stage and be weird? Positive impact on the community, I'd say GotY. While Ludwig does great things, it is usually not much of a community impact, with the exception of the ones who was scammed. And I would agree with a lot of that, Eve, of there are good things and large things that both Ludwig and GotY Cinderella have done in different ways. I know more about what Ludwig has done, but that is because Ludwig is a larger creator than GotY Cinderella. So a lot of what I know about Karl Jacobs, Ludwig, and GotY Cinderella is not because I personally follow them. I don't watch I did follow Nominees on Twitter, but that's a different conversation because of what we've already talked about. So instead, we're looking at everybody else. And Ludwig, significantly larger creator than GotY Cinderella, also was one of the first creators that got poached off of Twitch onto YouTube. Big deal for them being bought out for leaving what at the time was, I believe they were considered to be the largest creator on Twitch. I think they were called the King of Twitch for quite a while, and then they got bought by YouTube. They've been doing stuff over on YouTube. He's called like the Mogul King, and Ludwig got a start in Smash Brothers. He's been trying to do more community events and stuff. So I hear more about Ludwig because he's talked about more, because his name gets more clicks on headlines. His name gets more traffic. GotY Cinderella has been doing a lot of stuff recently. GotY Cinderella also recently hosted the Streamer Awards, and they have been trying to build more community-focused attention, not just for big names, but small names too. Reactions are aggregations, in my opinion, so I'm not sure my view on aggregations are not content creators. I mean, that's fair, and like you could say, you know, like even people like GotY, who is almost exclusively a news channel for video games, are they a content creator? I would say yes. The only difference is Nominees didn't make videos, so I would still say that they have a place in this category, but I understand where people are on a debate about that. So I really don't know these big name creators and influencers. That's fine. You don't need to. Who do I think will win? Okay. I think I don't know enough about Karl Jacobs or Nobru to say whether they will win. Okay. I just don't know enough. So for me, it comes down to these three. I wouldn't be surprised if the vote went to Nominees just because of the recent mass amount of conversation that took place surrounding their departure from Twitter and them stopping their activity as a news aggregator. It would not surprise me. I don't necessarily think that for that reason they should win, but that's not how the Game Awards works, okay? The Game Awards works in a really weird way in that it's not strictly a popularity contest, but it almost is, okay? So I wouldn't be surprised if Nominees won because of that. But between these, the person that I think should actually get it is GotY Cinderella. That is who I'm putting my vote for and who I think should win. But I don't know if on a large scale with the way that the voting works, if it'll win, if GotY Cinderella will be able to beat over the, I don't want to call it a controversy, but the discussion around Nominees or just the juggernaut that is Ludwig. So. Oh boy, GotY. I have some opinions. I know a lot of people that have a lot of opinions about GotY, but that's not a conversation for this video. All right, best multiplayer. for outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre or platform. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Multiverses, Overwatch, Splatoon 3, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. No Warframe, don't care. Okay. I'm not going to have a super in-depth discussion about that like we just did about the content creator. There is, because in my opinion, there's not a discussion to be had. No holds barred, no questions asked. The winner goes to Splatoon 3. There's nothing else to be said. It wins. It wins in every way beyond visuals. Yes, it's a Switch exclusive. Yes, it is because it's on the Nintendo Switch. There are some performance issues here and there. Yes, Nintendo doesn't give very great online support. But as a game and as a multiplayer title, Splatoon kicks the ever-living shit over all 4 of these other games combined. Splatoon 3 is one of the most grand-sized, large, complete, feature-rich games that we have seen, especially as a multiplayer-focused title, in years. There is no discussion to be had. Splatoon 3 wins. If any of these other games win, it's because they were bought out, and there's not a conversation about it. I'll pick Teenage Mutant Ninja. Oh, you're absolutely allowed to vote whatever you want. This is just the game that should win. I think that in terms of like playing with your friends, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles could easily be a better experience. But in terms of best multiplayer title, Splatoon 3. Best sports or racing game. Why are we here? Our options are F1 22, FIFA 23, NBA 2K23, Gran Turismo 7, or Ollie Ollie World. GT7? It's not GT7. I refuse to give it a GT7 because of their scummy microtransaction. You need to grind your ass off to be able to literally try to buy a car in a real world money equivalent. Fuck GT7. And there are the same issues with the design philosophy behind these other games too. So I'm just going to give it to Ollie Ollie World, and we're just going to move on. Best sim or strategy game. Best game focused on real-time or turn-based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform. Okay, so I'm immediately going to omit Dune Spice Wars from this category. I personally do not like giving nominations for incomplete games. It is not to say that Dune Spice Wars is not a good game. It is. But it is an early access title. Okay? It still has a long development road ahead of it. The game is not released. I do not believe that it should be in a category for what feels like the best released title in that space if it is not a finished game. Okay? So, I'm just going to explain that I'm removing that one from the category. Victoria 3, no. I feel like they put Victoria 3 on here because they needed more games to go in the category. What's the best sports game? The football. Mario Rabbids, I'd give this one. I only know the Mario game, but I'm like, in general, I'm sure it's fun, but it doesn't attract me. So for me, it's between these two. It's between Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope and Total War Warhammer 3. 2 Point Campus is a very charming game. It's got a lot of appeal to it, but it is. I don't believe it is I don't believe it is better than these two. Okay. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, I believe, will be the game that wins. Okay. I do believe the Total War Warhammer 3 does genuinely have a chance to win over Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. And that is because I think that both these games have different reasons that they are in the contention. Total War Warhammer 3 is... I don't know when Total War Warhammer came out, but it's years and years in the making. Because Creative Assembly have been building on the platform of Total War Warhammer specifically for however many years it's been. Because the way that these games have worked is Total War Warhammer released, had DLC. Total War Warhammer 2 rebuilt a lot of the game, the engines, the graphics, and supported all of the content from Total War Warhammer. So everything you'd bought in Total War Warhammer carried forward and was usable in Total War Warhammer 2. Total War Warhammer 2 had a bunch of DLC, updates, content, and stuff like that. And then we got Total War Warhammer 3, same story again. We rebuilt a lot of things. We've improved a lot of the programming. We've done full graphical overhauls. We've completely redone all of this. And all of the content from Total War Warhammer 2 and Total War Warhammer 1 carry forward and are able to be used in Total War Warhammer 3. And Total War Warhammer 3 is easily one of the best Total War games that has ever been made. And I do believe it is for that reason, of that they have been reworking, re-engineering, to build and rebuild these games over and over and over again on top of one another to build what is truly an incredible experience if you like that experience. A ton of indie games are better than 2 Point and Victoria 3. I agree. They're also more approachable than 2 Point and Victoria 3. Warhammer would probably be my pick. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Mario plus Rabbids is actually just an incredible tactical strategy game. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope doesn't change a whole lot beyond removing the grid. But I do believe that it is still, if you want a turn-based tactical strategy style RPG, if you wanted something like Fire Emblem or XCOM that is just a little bit more approachable, Mario plus Rabbids is actually one of the best games in that category. Do I think it is better than Total War Warhammer 3? I don't know. And the reason that I don't know is because they are such significantly different games that this category feels a little too broad. Triangle Strategy isn't nominated? No. Surprisingly. That's a good point. I could have seen it in here, but it's not. I wonder if they have it in the RPG or some shit instead of sim strategy. It should be a strategy game over an RPG game, but I'm personally going to vote for Warhammer 3. It would not surprise me in the slightest if Mario plus Rabbids won it, though. Best family game. Here's Kirby. For the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform, options are Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Nintendo Switch Sports, or Splatoon 3. My vote is also the game that I think should win. Okay? I don't know if it's the game that will win. In fact, I don't even have a guess as to which game will win. But the game that I think should win is actually Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. And the reason that I think that... Okay, you can undo your vote. Interesting. The reason that I say that is this category is the best game appropriate for family play. Okay? So this is not which one of these 5 games is the best. Okay? That is not what this is asking. This is what is the best game to play with your family. Okay? I have played some of these games with family. And let me tell you what, Kirby's second player, it's not bad, but it's not great either, okay? It gives you the option to bring in a second player, but it is not fantastic. Same can be said for Mario plus Rabbids. Splatoon 3, while I just said is one of the best multiplayer games in the last year, it is actually a bit of a hassle to play with your friends in that game. Which, I mean, in like Splatoon 1, you couldn't play with your friends, which was hilarious. But anyway, I think the actual best, like, family experience is actually Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. I do not believe that it is the best game on a flat scale out of these 5. I don't believe that. But for the category, I do believe that it is actually Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. Mario's number 1. I think Mario is a better game than Lego, but I don't believe that it is a better family cooperative experience than Lego is. If you say anything else, I'll fucking eat your pet. I don't have a pet, so go ahead, starve. So, that's where I put this category and why. That's a very specific, like a very important difference is why it's in that category. Best fighting game. This is another one that I have heard a discussion about. For the For the best game designed primarily around head-to-head combat. DNF Duel. Oh, I didn't want to submit that vote. Undo that. DNF Duel, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R, The King of Fighters 15, Multiverses, or Sifu. I agree with every single bit of discourse that has been brought up. Sifu should not be in this category. You know why? Sifu's a single-player game. Designed primarily around head-to-head combat. You cannot go head-to-head in Sifu. You want to know what? Literally, Dark Souls is a more qualified candidate for this category than Sifu is. Sifu is a single-player brawler-style game. It is not Batman Arkham Asylum. I was about to say, like, it's a fucking single play. It's like Batman Arkham Asylum. The combat, it can look that way, but it is not. It does not play that way. But it is as qualified to be a fighting game as Batman Arkham Asylum is. Just because the game is a kung fu game does not make it the best fighting game. Especially when even in your category you say the game designed primarily around head-to-head combat. Sifu, you are fighting groups of enemies in very specifically designed combat. Like, it's as much of a fighting game as fucking Assassin's Creed is, okay? It does not belong in this category. It does not. It may be a game focused on martial arts, but it is not a game. It is not any of these other 4 games. Not even close. Not even close. Pokemon is a fighting game that's head-to-head. You could put that in like a strategy game though, or an RPG style game. Super Kirby Fighter. Head-to-head doesn't mean PvP though. I would say it does. DNF Duel is a very stylistic choice for sure. Much flashiness, how it actually pays. It's debatable. It is debatable, but I mean, one of the things with the best fighting game categories, and this might be the reason that Sifu is in here, the fighting game community is actually very small. The number of people that play fighting games is very, very small. It's one of the smallest genres in video games, right next to like fucking RTS games, right? Like, in fact, at its height, Command & Conquer probably had more fucking players than Street Fighter did. Fighting games are very, very niche. As much as it doesn't always feel like it, it's very niche. And so we actually don't get that many significant fighting games in a year. Okay? But also DNF Duel, made by Arc System Works with the help of Aiding. Aiding is a very prolific fighting game developer. It's got a lot of style, it's got a lot of flash. They're trying to do different things in it. It does deserve its spot. I don't necessarily think that JoJo's does, okay? And the reason that I say that, it is a fighting game. It is completely dedicated to head-to-head combat, but it's just a remaster. It's just some fresh paint on a PS3 game. I understand that there's not a lot of things to put in this category, but it doesn't actually it's not a new game. And I think that is something that is maybe a different discussion to be had on whether it should be in here or not. It is a fighting game, though. It did come out this year. So, yeah. King of Fighters 15 and Multiverses. You know, what is the best fighting game out of these? It's not Multiverses. I will say Multiverses is a damn good Smash clone. They did a lot of things with it that I think allow them to be different from Smash while still maintaining the spirit of a platform brawler, but I don't think that it is the best fighting game. I think that award goes to DNF Duel or the King of Fighters 15. But which one does it go to? Head-to-head means more focused on 1v1 or 2v2. Well, Sifu doesn't even fit that category. Like, there are boss fights in Sifu, but like literally Dark Souls style. But Sifu, for the most part, is like 1v however many enemies are in the room. When the gaming community lists games as fighting games, we expect PvP. Yeah, when I think of this is a fighting game, I think of a 2D or 3D arena style. We have health bars at the top that we chunk down to 0. With the exception of platform brawlers like Smash Brothers, Rivals of Aether, Multiverses, etc. To me, the best fighting game ever has been Ashura's Wrath. That's not, I mean, okay, that is a type of fighting game, but it is, I don't think that's exactly what we're looking at here, Eve. Welcome in, Fluffy Crazy Strings. Hello, Sin. So what do I think the best fighting game that released this past year? I think it's actually DNF Duel, okay? I could see where the King of Fighters could win. I'm going to vote for DNF Duel. It is a sloppy fighter. Super sloppy. It is dirty. It is nasty. It is a mess. However, I do think, one, King of Fighters is very unapproachable for a lot of people. It's a hyper-technical fighter. And it pushes a lot of people away for that reason. I think the actual best fighting game, despite its sloppy, messy mess, is DNF Duel. So, what's here? All right, best role-playing game. For the best game designed with rich player customization, that's part of your category for best role-playing game is player character customization. What? Okay, anyway, for the best game designed with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences, your options are Elden Ring, Live Alive, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Triangle Strategy, or Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Well, when you put it that way, Elden Ring wins. If we're looking at player customization and progression, it's fucking Elden Ring. Okay, but that is not what I think of when I think of a role-playing game. At all. Okay? I think of games that have a progressive narrative that are trying to tell a story. Now, maybe that is more of a specific subgenre within role-playing games, because role-playing games can be really, really a massively wide category, right? I mean, we can see how wide that category is by looking at the 5 games. Elden Ring, which is a Soulsian, versus Live Alive, which is a what would you call Live Alive? Real? Like, it's a turn-based RPG, right? Pokemon Legends, which I guess is also kind of a turn-based RPG, but it's an open-world game. Triangle Strategy, which is a tactical strategy game. And then you got Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which is a kind of hybrid-y, real-time action RPG game. So... Oh, Live Alive. Sorry. I knew that, Athena, and I just completely frickin' forgot it. Welcome in, Luke Lee. I appreciate you joining in the raid. Elden Ring wins if they're going to categorize it like that, right? Like, you're going to put this as the first categories, player customization and progression? Freaking Live Alive, you play out a whole bunch of different chapters that are very, very loosely, like, they got threads, but you don't get a lot of progression in them because each chapter is like an hour to 3 hours long, right? So you don't get player customization at all because you play as predefined characters in each of those chapters, and I guess you see progression within those chapters, but then it's done, right? So, like, there's almost no customization. I guess you can customize your team in Pokemon. Like, this seems so weird as how you're defining this category. I don't understand it, right? I just don't get it. I don't understand. To be honest, I think Elden Ring is the most RPG. All games try to tell stories. I mean, but that's also been a discussion on Twitter right now, is that how is a discussion around Elden Ring's narrative. So I need character customization, a better role play in it. I can understand what you're saying, Eve, but not every game is meant to be a self-insert, because like you are not role-playing as a self-insert in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. You are witnessing the story of Noah and Mio and their friends as they go through the story of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So, no, you just said that. I can't self-insert into forced characters that I have little choice or control over. Well, I mean, I would debate with that too, but that's a different conversation. So, I can't with this category with lots of categories. I mean, yeah, some of these categories are just too broad. Role-playing implies self-insert, though? I don't think so. You can role-play as somebody else. Okay, what game do I think will win? I think that basically in damn near any category that Elden Ring is in, Elden Ring will probably win. In terms of best role-playing game, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is actually one of the best JRPGs that has come out in a very long time. It beats out so many other games. It does so many things incredibly well. The biggest blow against Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is that it is a Nintendo Switch exclusive, and the hardware just does not support what this game wants to do, and that's really unfortunate. So it sucks. It sucks a lot. You know what's the best RPG? Final Fantasy 14 that you can have a free trial of, and you can play that free account all the way to level 60, I think. JRPGs aren't role-playing games because they tell stories. They're RPGs because they're similar to Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy 1s, which are actually role-playing games. Well, and I think that's part of the problem of that role-playing games are just too vast now. It's too expansive of a category to the point that the role-playing game category is too ill-defined anymore. Because of, we can even just see how vastly different these 5 games in this category are, that I don't feel like Live Alive, Triangle Strategy, Pokemon, Elden Ring, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 feel like they should be in the same category. I'm voting Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It'll probably go to Elden Ring. Moving on. Best action. Speaking of games that are speaking of a genre that's too fucking vast, action adventure is vague as hell. It's like it's kind of like at, what is it, the Oscars for movies, that fucking comedies and musicals are in the same category, and I'm like, those are not the same thing. Those are not the same. They're not even close to being the same. Action adventure is so fucking wild, right? That is an ocean of games. You could almost put any fucking video game into the action adventure category. But anyway, for the best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving, do we believe for a second that God of War Ragnarok doesn't win this? Like, God of War Ragnarok is in this category. Do we believe that it has a chance to not win against anything else? Is Horizon Forgotten West going to win a single goddamn thing? I don't think so. I think Horizon Forgotten West, I realize I said forbidden, I'm going with a meme here. Horizon Forgotten West loses because it came out 1 or 2 weeks before fucking Elden Ring. It came out, everyone went, Horizon, Elden Ring, and then Elden Ring was the only thing anyone fucking talked about for 2 months. Unfortunately, I think because of Elden Ring, it makes this game be called Horizon Forgotten West. So, I don't think that it gets anything. It's so unfortunate, because I do believe that both Horizon games have reasons for them to have a conversation about them, but they have just been overshadowed by so many other games. So, for fucking Horizon better not win shit. Horizon really did feel like it was forgotten. It was. Elden Ring erased it from existence. Like, it completely erased it. I don't believe Tunic has a chance against any of these 3. Stray is also not competing with these 3. I don't believe that Horizon can win against God of War Ragnarok. And then we have you. A Plague Tale Requiem. We have a Plague Tale Requiem. So, Asobo Studio, when it released A Plague Tale Innocence, it punched so high above its weight class. Asobo Studios literally used to make shitty Disney games, okay? They made those garbage-ass, bargain bin, nobody wanted to buy them Mickey Mouse games, okay? And then they just were like, we're going to make our own game. And they built A Plague Tale: Innocence, which I believe is actually one of the, like, it's such an incredible game. It's a beautiful, incredible game. And they punched so high above their weight class. And they know that. And they ended up getting a ton of funding infused into them as they went into A Plague Tale: Requiem. They made one of the most beautiful games that came out. To the point that it makes fucking 4090s cry. And it's not because the game is unoptimized. It's just because they went so fucking hard with the game. And I could see it winning this category over God of War Ragnarok. I really could. Poor game didn't get enough spotlight to show itself off. Horizon, it did not. Yeah. 1, Ragnarok. 2, Plague Tale. 3, Horizon. 4, Stray. 5, Tunic. That's probably how, if there was ranked choice voting for the Game Awards, that's probably how this would play out, is exactly like that. Plague Tale could win. There weren't any goddamn games if Tunic and Stray are on here. Yeah. It was a rough year. There was a lot of games that did come out, but a lot of them were smaller releases. We're going to see a lot of games come out next year, especially the first half of next year. February is stacked. I'm not sure about having Stray in this category. That is the odd thing. It was so many games released this year. They were all smaller ones, though. Real. The people at the Game Awards didn't play them then. That could also be it. Well, and also, the way that the Game Awards work in terms of nominations is that they essentially poll a whole bunch of the major places of, like, what games do you think should be in this category? And everyone just submits their list. And then whichever games appear the most on everyone's list become the 5 that actually get nominated. So I am going to vote for A Plague Tale. I think God of War is probably going to be nominated in other categories that it will have a better fit in. Action adventure is so broad and so vague. And I could see, I think Plague Tale might win, and here's the shitty thing about these award shows. I think God of War is going to win other categories. And because it is going to win other categories, we will see people giving A Plague Tale the nod that they feel it deserves in this one. As weird as that is. Because they'll be like, we shouldn't snub A Plague Tale, so we'll vote for it in this category so we can give God of War Ragnarok Game of the Year or Best Game Direction or whatever, right? Okay. Category 15 or 16 for us. Best action game. Can I point out, we just did Best Action Adventure and now we're in Best Action Game. That's how fucking vague this category is. That's how vague action adventure is. It is so vague that there is a more focused category in it in the form of Best Action Games. Dropping frames or camera just jittery? I don't know. I don't know. I forgot God of War was even out. I mean, it's a very recent release. It barely eked in its way to being within this set of nominations. So, all right. For best game in the action genre focused primarily on combat, our options are Bayonetta 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Neon White, Sifu, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. By the way, this is a great category for Sifu. Fighting games is not the best category. This is a good category for it. So, what do I think will win? You know, so many people have these pre-established biases in these that, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Call of Duty won. Do I think it deserves to win Best Action Game? No. Could I see it winning just because it blows all of these other games out of the fucking water, right? Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 made $1 billion in its first week. It is one of the largest, most massive fucking media brands that exists, that I could see it winning. Do I think it should? No. Could it? Yeah. Yeah, I think it could. I absolutely think it could win. But I don't think that it should win. Now, what do I think should win? Okay, I actually just played through Shredder's Revenge very recently. I think it's very good. It is very good. Sifu is definitely not a game that is for everybody, but it is a very good action game. Same to be said for Neon White. Very unique speedrunning style, card-based action. The fact that I'm having trouble describing it should tell you why it is unique in the way that it is. It is a speedrunning, card-based action shooter battler fucking game, right? So, Turtles also sold 1 billion pizzas. Call of Duty, I've played 100 hours of the new Call of Duty since it comes out. I'm basically done with it at this point. But it is just Call of Duty. It's a really good Call of Duty, but it's just Call of Duty. And then we also just recently played Bayonetta 3. Bayonetta 3 is genuinely a fantastic game, okay? But Bayonetta 3 is also a Nintendo Switch exclusive. And let me tell you what, we talked about just recently in the role-playing games category about how the Nintendo Switch abused Xenoblade Chronicles 3 to where it didn't get to be the game that it should have been. Oh boy, you want to talk about a poster child of being held back and abused by the Nintendo Switch's hardware? Bayonetta 3 wins that category forever, okay? There is not a game that I believe has been more held back and more punished by the Switch's low-end hardware than Bayonetta 3. And there's been a lot of talk recently about the new Pokemon game, Violet and Scarlet, and even the Pokemon game that released at the beginning of this year in Legends Arceus, and how, like, oh man, the Nintendo Switch just can't do it, right? And I understand that criticism, but we have seen from the very beginning what the Nintendo Switch can do in the form of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And while there are very heavy limitations placed on Xenoblade Chronicles 3, that game is still very, very beautiful. They did an incredible job with it. However, both of those games are slower paced adventure games, okay? Bayonetta 3 is a character action fighter game. It is a spectacle fighter. It is meant to be this fast-paced, high-speed. You are meant to be doing these frame-perfect dodges and parries and crazy effects. It is meant to be a Devil May Cry 5 level game. It is meant to be these incredible just spectacles of attacks and particle effects and spell effects and everything. The Switch can't do it, okay? Bayonetta 3 is a Nintendo Switch exclusive. It cannot do it. It absolutely can't. That said, I am so impressed all the same with what Platinum Games managed to make possible in Bayonetta 3 on the Nintendo Switch. Okay? It sucks. I don't think Activision Blizzard should get shit. Fair. Switch is a pile of trash. Also fair. Monster Hunter Rise struggled above 15 FPS in the town. And Monster Hunter Rise did look really good, though. And outside of the town, it ran pretty well. And Monster Hunter Rise is a good example of a game that still did pretty damn well when being a game that launched strictly initially for the Nintendo Switch. It's available on Steam now, so. This is why I buy some games on other consoles to have a better experience. Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing about some of these games, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Bayonetta 3, is that we don't have that option. If I'm buying for the Switch as well when double dipping, it's because I'm accepting the dip in the performance for portability, which is not a place that I think that Bayonetta 3 is a worthy sacrifice. I do believe that it actually is a worthy sacrifice in the form of like Xenoblade Chronicles 3. But now, for the purpose of the best action game, the best game in the action genre focused primarily on combat, it is not Call of Duty. I don't think it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Good game, but I don't believe it is actually the best game focused primarily on combat. I could have seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles actually being a great game in that family category that we just got done with. Well, I say we just got done with. It was like 30 fucking minutes ago. But it's a great game to play with your family and friends. Up to 6 players, couch and online co-op, and just so much character and fun and personality. That should have been in that category. I don't believe it is the winner, or does it get my vote in this. I think Sifu will lose, and I don't believe it gets the... Sifu is such a unique game. It is like a proof of concept that was made into a full game. They were in the family category. Kirby ate them. Reasonable. And so I think it, for me, comes down to Neon White and Bayonetta. I am going to vote for Bayonetta because while there are massive limitations to the game because of the Nintendo Switch, I do believe that Bayonetta 3 is actually a fantastic game. I genuinely believe that. I think it deserves a lot of praise, especially because of its limitations and what it still achieved on the Nintendo Switch. And I think that if Bayonetta 3 wasn't an exclusive to the Nintendo Switch, that it would probably win this category, hands down, no questions asked. It would just win if Platinum Games was given more freedom in what they could have done with the game. I could actually see Neon White winning this category, though, because Neon White also does something unique and in a new space, kind of like Sifu does, but I think Neon White pulls it off better. So I wouldn't be surprised if Call of Duty won. I don't believe it has any right to win over any of the other games in this. I could see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles winning. I don't see Sifu winning. I can see Neon White and Bayonetta 3 winning. I would like to see Bayonetta 3 win. I actually think Neon White actually might pull out in this category. So Ubisoft in the same boat as Activision Blizzard, but apparently no one knows about that one. People just care less because Ubisoft is like... I don't know why, actually. I don't know why they seem to care less when it comes to Ubisoft. So I'll look into reviews and see how they are and take the inputs to see. I'll probably enjoy it. For some reason, I thought they were giving the middle finger. Oh, with the little emote. Fair. All right, what's next? Best VR AR game. For the best game experience, playable in virtual or augmented reality, irrespective of platform. Options are After the Fall, Among Us VR, Bone Lab, Moss Book 2, and Red Matter 2. Huh. Interesting. What do I think will win, and who do I think should win? Okay. First, we'll go with who I think shouldn't win. Okay? I think that's an important thing. Okay? I don't think that Among Us VR should win, and I don't think that Bone Lab should win. And Eve just kind of easily explained why I don't think that Bone Lab should win. Bone Lab is a proof of concept. Okay? It is a very impressive experience, but Bone Lab feels like, let me show you what you can do with VR. But I believe that something like Half-Life Alyx does that in a better way of being a VR experience than something like Bone Lab does. They do impressive stuff. Bone Lab is a good... I'm not going to take away from that. but I do agree that it feels like a more proof of concept, let's build the ideas of VR, than being a good VR experience. Among Us VR is literally just Among Us in VR, okay? It does some interesting things. It does change it up a little bit. Because of the way that you are playing in VR, you have to do the tasks actually with your hands. And in terms of what you can see, it is different because you can only see what you see. So it's easier to kill someone when someone's looking away from you, you know. But it is still just the Among Us game in a VR space. That brings us to Moss Book 2, Red Matter, and After the Fall. And unfortunately, these three games I know the least about. So, oh man, I don't know. I really don't know enough about any of these whatsoever. So, I'm going to vote for Moss Book 2 because it's cute. Innovation and accessibility. Whoo. Okay, recognizing software and or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience. Okay, so this, I'm really glad to see this category, okay? This is increasingly an important category. It is so important, and I genuinely hope that more games forever forward give this category so much more attention, because it is something that is wildly important. One of the most important things is making your game accessible to as many people as possible. Personally, that's one of my largest complaints with Bayonetta 3. I understand because of the genre, it may be difficult to make that game accessible. It is a button mashy, like quick reaction time style game. It is wildly inaccessible to a massive amount of people, and it has zero accessibility options beyond a lower difficulty setting. So our options here are As Dusk Falls, God of War Ragnarok, Return to Monkey Island, The Last of Us Part 1, and The Quarry. One, which I'm going to say right now, As Dusk Falls, fantastic game. Highly recommend it. It's an incredible game. Grab 4 of your friends, play through it together. Genuinely recommend it. Incredible experience. It does not win this category. This category is going to be the 2 Sony Interactive Experience games slugging it out. It is God of War Ragnarok and The Last of Us Part 1. And they are fighting until the universe is destroyed in this category. Both of these games are easily, moving forward, will be some of the most defining games when it comes to accessibility moving forward. Okay? And one of the reasons for that is that The Quarry and Return to Monkey Island, they do have accessibility features in them, but they are also, by nature of their game type, more accessible. Okay? By the way that these games function, by the way that they are played, they are more accessible games at their core. Okay? God of War Ragnarok and The Last of Us Part 1 are not that way, but they have vast accessibility features to make them more accessible, to so many accessibility features so that they can be accessible when they might otherwise not be. So the easiest way to make Button Mashers accessible is to allow a continuous press option. It is correct. Bayonetta does not have that. Could do what fighting games did for accessibility and essentially do macro easy inputs. That is correct. Did Last of Us 1 even add anything that wasn't already in there in 2? They did. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't a lot. I will say that. But they did add significantly more. Or not significantly more. They did add more that was not in The Last of Us Part 2 when they did The Last of Us Part 1, which is weird to say because that sounds backwards, but it's how it works. That said, I do think that God of War Ragnarok wins this category, and I do think it has more accessibility features over The Last of Us Part 1, but I could see either of these taking it. God of War Ragnarok is a newer game that had accessibility as an idea from the very beginning. The Last of Us Part 1 is largely borrowing from The Last of Us Part 2. Naughty Dog has done incredible things for accessibility, and I think God of War Ragnarok takes all of that another step further. So I think this goes to God of War Ragnarok. The easy inputs may limit what moves you see, but if you're there to experience the story, then it's a good thing in my opinion. I agree. And I have not looked super in depth at how easy Bayonetta 3's easy mode is, but from what I know about the developers and Bayonetta as a franchise, I can't imagine that it actually makes the game accessible enough to people that have issues with accessibility to where they'd be able to play Bayonetta 3 comfortably. Best community support. Recognizing a game for outstanding community support, transparency, responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity, and game updates and patches. Whoo! This year is a hard category. Okay? This is a hard category this year. Okay? In previous years, Final Fantasy 14 would win, no questions asked, okay? So I'll just say right now, we're not going to talk about Apex Legends. We're not going to talk about Destiny 2. These games aren't it, okay? It is neither of these. It is one of these three. It is Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, or No Man's Sky. So, recognizing a game for outstanding community support, transparency and responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity, and game updates and patches. Not even taking bias into account, they encompass all the things the description says. You are correct, Sin. They do a fantastic job of all of those things. Fortnite and No Man's Sky have done some pretty significant things this year, okay? So, I am looking at this through the lens of what is the best community support game between November 9th, 2021 and November 8th, 2022, okay? Final Fantasy 14 does a lot in that space, okay? But Fortnite and No Man's Sky have done a lot this year. Final Fantasy 14 has as well. Fortnite completely built a new mode. They did a lot of things for inclusivity because of that mode, making the game much more accessible to more people. They've done a lot of responsiveness within that mode, making it what people want for the people that wanted something that wasn't Fortnite, okay? Fortnite has a lot of community support. They always have. They have done a lot of social media activity. They have their icon program that includes like making skins around creators and lifting those creators up. We've seen this very heavily since they started it, and it's done a lot this year, over the last 12 months. No Man's Sky continues to be like the fucking underdog story. That's not quite the right word. The comeback kid of the game that just like almost killed itself really, really heavily at launch. But in the last year, they've done some very significant updates and they've forever said like it's amazing to me that Hello Games, with their entire campaign of we're just gonna lie about all of the things leading up to release, and then they got completely like held to task when all of their lies were just flopped out in front of them. And then they were like, oh yeah, you're right. And then they just started to be wildly transparent about everything, super informative and responsive. But their 4.0 waypoint update that was released over this last year is along the same lines of Zero Build in Fortnite. The sheer amount of things that update provided. Also, I think they had another major update that fits within that 12-point window. But 4.0 also really did a lot of revolutionizing a lot of aspects within the game based on community feedback and community support to provide an experience that was more of what people wanted from No Man's Sky. And so that's why these two games, while they are long-running games with a long-running back history, actually this year do give Final Fantasy XIV a legitimate, like, run for its money in this category this year. Final Fantasy XIV in that time window had to stop sales because too many people were trying to play. I mean, that's a credit to its success, but that's not a credit to community support on the game side. That is not the community supporting the game. We are talking about the game that has given support to its community. So, where does that leave us? Hear complaints about Apex having played it. Maybe No Man's Sky. Yeah. The sales thing isn't really the community side. Yeah. I don't know what game deserves this the most, though, in terms of community support. I really don't. I could see it going to any one of these three, honestly. In terms of who I think will win, okay? I don't think Final Fantasy XIV wins it this year. And it's not because I don't think it deserves it. I think it's because this is wrong, okay? I think Final Fantasy XIV has done so well for itself from a community support standpoint that it will no longer get the recognition it deserves for a community support standpoint, because it has continued to be a really good title that its goodness doesn't feel special anymore. That's not how it should be, but I think that is the point that Final Fantasy XIV is starting to reach, and I think that sucks, okay? You could argue that they helped the community by not selling the game to customers that wouldn't be able to play, but that's still not what is. Yeah, I get what you're going for, Sin. So I think that means that Final Fantasy XIV won't win. I think that Zero Build has been wildly successful in terms of community response and how Epic Games has handled Zero Build and has handled community support and community built the creator program, not just for the icon skin line, but also within their creator tools. They've really heavily expanded and built on that this year. And No Man's Sky just continues to be, like I said, that comeback kid story. I don't know who wins. I do not know. It is one of these three. It could literally just be a dice roll. My vote goes to Fortnite. As a game. It could be any of those three, though. Setting the bar or capping on what it can do. I think there's always room for improvement, especially when it comes to video games, especially when it comes to live service games and the way that you provide to your community. But it really could go to any of those three. I'll step back to this category real quick to read Eve's. Since what other game has weekly streams? Oh, you're talking about Warframe? Weekly streams that highlights community and artwork, skins, comments, suggestions, playing the game for others. I don't know, Eve. And it might be because of the way the nominations work that they sent their list in. These 5 games got, like, it could be, if there was 6, Warframe would be number 6. But because of the way the nominations work, these 5 just got the most votes on everyone's list for nominations. Tower. Oh, we're in the mobile category. Okay. Best mobile game. For the best game playable on a mobile device. Apex Legends Mobile. I'm not going to discredit them for making a really, like, it's a good mobile adaptation. Okay. Diablo Immortal, go fuck yourself. Genshin Impact, Marvel Snap, and Tower of Fantasy. So, I have not played Marvel Snap, but I have heard that it is fantastic. Even from a monetization standpoint, I have heard that it is really good. I've heard that it wasn't at launch. My understanding is that Marvel Snap was a really scummy, over-monetized experience at launch that people shat all over, rightly so, and the developers, and I guess the publishers by, extension, went Our game is going to die if we don't address the feedback that people have given us for the monetization in Marvel Snap. And so they fixed it. And now it is apparently an incredible experience. So, yeah. I don't know enough about this game. Genshin Impact, I kind of like the conversation that we just had with Final Fantasy XIV. I think Genshin Impact I think we're done talking about it now. In fact, the only thing that I see people talking about with Genshin Impact anymore is people talking about the bad with Genshin Impact. The complaints that they have of the lack of community support, the lack of meaningful content and updates, to the point that I believe Hoyoverse even made a statement of like, we are not going to do the things that the community wants to do and we're just going to keep doing whatever we want. Which is like, I think that Genshin Impact just loses because of a lot of those things. So, it has plateaued kind of. I think it's actually starting to fall off. I don't think it's falling off in terms of like overall popularity or even like overall sales. Genshin Impact still makes a shitload of money, but I think the spectacle of it has started to fall off. Okay, so Tower of Fantasy, though, like Cerulean just said, it's trying to copy Genshin's success, and it is a buggy game. Tower of Fantasy is also doing a lot of things that Genshin Impact is not. They are trying to copy Genshin's success in terms of like their art direction, world design, and a lot of other things. They want to look like Genshin Impact while doing the things that people want Genshin Impact to do that Hoyoverse won't do with Genshin Impact. Tower Fantasy is doing very well. And so it does have its own unique things. It does. And that's good because it needs to. I think the winner is one of these two. Marvel Snap or Tower of Fantasy. Tower of Fantasy has been out longer. Marvel Snap technically just re-released like a month ago with its new build, essentially. So, I don't know which one wins. I don't care which one wins. I'm going to vote Tower of Fantasy. Best Indie. That's the thing that a lot of people have said with Tower of Fantasy Cerulean, is that it has a deeper combat system than Genshin does. All right, best indie game. Tunic, Stray, Sifu, Neon White, Cult of the Lamb. What wins? What do I think should win? What do I want to win? What do I think wins? I think it is probably Cult of the Lamb that wins. If it's not Cult of the Lamb, it is Stray. Tunic, unfortunately, Sin. So like, Tunic's great, right? Great game. Tunic got nominated for a ton of stuff. Unless there's something else in these remaining 9 categories after this, I don't think Tunic's winning a single fucking thing. Not because it's not good, but just because there's something else in the category that wins over Tunic. I think in Best Indie, for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system, I think either Stray wins or Cult of the Lamb wins. I think Neon White deserves a nod. Sifu deserves a nod. I feel like Neon White deserves a nod over Sifu does. I could see either of these winning. This is another one of those categories where these two games, Cult of the Lamb and Stray, are such different games, both in visual style, Stray's trying to be almost photorealism. Cult of the Lamb is very much like hand-drawn animations. This is a puzzle platformer. This is a roguelike city manager game. Not quite city manager, but they're so different that either one could win. I would like to see Cult of the Lamb win over Stray. I could absolutely see Stray winning without any question. I completed my votes, and sadly, I'm like, ew, with the nominees in a lot of categories. Yeah. Yeah. My first Tunic comment was a snap reaction of what I would vote for. That's fair, Sin. Absolutely fair. And, like, I don't think a vote for Tunic is a bad vote, but I do think Cult of the Lamb wins over Tunic, but I can still see Cult of the Lamb losing to Stray. Best ongoing game. Awarded to a game for outstanding development for ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, Genshin Impact. This is the category that I believe Final Fantasy XIV wins. Okay? Because, and the reason I say that is that, so Fortnite did release Zero Build this year, and I love Zero Build. It made me not care about Fortnite to Fortnite being one of the games that I genuinely love and just enjoy relaxing with. However, in terms of outstanding development for ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time, Fortnite and Zero Build does not do that. Zero Build was a singular moment of evolution, of actually de-evolution, of removing a mechanic from the game that made the game a game that a lot more people are interested in that weren't interested in it before. Okay? And I think that's a major difference in that, of that Zero Build made Fortnite a game that we were interested in when we weren't before. But I do not believe, like, I don't believe that since I've started playing Zero Build Fortnite that it has had this ongoing content that has evolved my experience. It's definitely not done that. It's just a fun time waster, and I appreciate it for that. Apex Legends, Destiny 2, not talking about those. You can, like, Apex Legends, I don't believe has done, it has had ongoing content, but I don't believe that content has evolved the player experience. Destiny 2, you can just go sit in the corner. Go sit in the corner. Genshin Impact, as we just talked about, I think is doing the opposite of this. I don't believe that they have been doing anything in terms of ongoing content that has evolved the player experience, because that's what people have been complaining about. I don't know why it's in this category. I have seen them release new characters and some new stories for those new characters, but that's strictly just to feed the gacha and feed the fucking hoard of gold that they're making. But that is the complaint that I've seen people have. It doesn't get this. So I think without a question, Final Fantasy XIV is the one that does do that. Because every single time Final Fantasy XIV gets another patch, gets another update, gets anything else added to it, all I ever hear is how they have continued to one-up themselves with their content that has continuously led to an evolution of the player experience in a meaningful way. And I think that is something that they will continue to, I hope at least, get credit for, and they deserve it. I think Warframe again should be on this list, even if it doesn't win. And like I said last time, Eve, it might easily be, you know, number 6 in the list. But they only took the top 5. Even though I'm very confident that the game of the year is a 6 game category. But maybe that's just because it's the game of the year category. So Final Fantasy XIV at least changes stuff, and A Realm Reborn involves player experience in other ways as well in their expansions. And the Final Fantasy XIV just does a lot. So they added a new element, so now mechanics have changed. I don't feel like that really does evolve the player experience, though, for Genshin. Games for Impact. Oh, did we miss games in other categories because I didn't scroll down far enough? No, because this has 4, and all of the other ones definitely just had 5 in a list like that. Okay. So, Games for Impact, for a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. A Memoir Blue, As Dusk Falls, Citizen Sleeper, Endling Extinction is Forever, Hindsight, or I Was a Teenage Exocolonist. Okay, so I haven't actually heard of Hindsight. I will say that. I cannot comment anything about that game whatsoever. Haven't even heard of it. First time I'm actually hearing of it is right now. That, looking at these other games, Endling Extinction is Forever, beautiful, lovely game. It's got a really great, like, point that it wants to communicate. I don't know enough about I Was a Teenage Exocolonist, but I have heard that it is fantastic. I haven't heard a whole lot about Memoir Blue. I've heard a lot of good things about Citizen Sleeper. But the last game that is on this list is As Dusk Falls. This game is really, really good, okay? I cannot express just how good this game genuinely is. But I genuinely think that you need to play it with a group of trusted friends, okay? Because of the way that this game works, in terms of the way that you can affect the narrative together with trying to guide characters through their choices, there is not another game that works this way. We've looked, because we loved this game so much that we wanted to see a game that worked this. We wanted to play another one. You could actually replay As Dusk Falls. It has multiple endings, multiple story paths, multiple narratives, and see different things, but you'd have to make different choices, of course. But we instead just wanted to see the same game, just with a different story, right? That doesn't exist, because this game is unique in the way that it works. And this is a game that I still talk about today because of how much of an impact it did have. It's a very unique game. It's not telling a unique story, and it's not even trying to make a very strict message. In the terms of, like, Endling Extinction is Forever is trying to talk about, like, the damage that we're doing to the world and how we're destroying nature and stuff like that. It's not communicating that message. It is communicating the message of some problems within our society, both in terms of on a social level and an economic level, but not quite as grand of a message as Endling Extinction is Forever. So with that said, I don't know what will win. I don't think Endling Extinction is Forever will win, because I don't think it got actually enough attention for it to get the votes. In terms of what game I think strictly might get enough votes, I think it might actually go to I Was a Teenage Exocolonist. I could see Citizen Sleeper grabbing it as well. I would like to see win, and my vote will go to As Dusk Falls. All right, best performance. Interesting. Okay. We have Ashley Birch from Horizon Forbidden West, Charlotte McBurney from A Plague Tale Requiem, Christopher Judge from God of War Ragnarok, Manon Gage from Immortality, and Sunny Soljic from God of War Ragnarok. It probably goes to Christopher Judge. Okay? Probably goes to Christopher Judge. Awarded to an individual for voice over acting, motion, and or performance capture. It probably goes to Christopher Judge. I do believe that there is credit that should be given to other people on this list. I think that Charlotte McBurney from A Plague Tale Requiem could absolutely win this category. I do believe that wholeheartedly. Manon Gage from Immortality, I could also see win this. But I don't think that Manon will win, because I don't believe that Immortality got enough attention for them to win. I think Sunny will be overshadowed by Chris for God of War, and Horizon Forgotten West will be forgotten despite having good performances in it. So I think that it'll be between A Plague Tale Requiem's Charlotte McBurney and God of War Ragnarok's Christopher Judge. So these are all amazing performers, and being nominated is an honor itself. I agree. I definitely agree. But there's definitely different weights in different areas. One nice thing about this with the best performance category is that at least these people all this is a category that is not vague or vast. It is strictly, did you do a good performance of your character? So I think that God of War's Christopher Judge will win, but I'm going to vote for Charlotte McBurney because I do believe that their performance has a better presentation over Kratos. Next, best audio design. Not really happy with these nominations. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2? No. Elden Ring? God of War Ragnarok? Gran Turismo? Horizon Forbidden West? It was kind of asked since it includes motion capture while also just includes just voice works. Fair. They're at least similar, though. So, not Gran Turismo. Not Call of Duty. Definitely not Call of Duty. I don't think it's Elden Ring either. God of War actually had some really good audio design. I'm just gonna vote Call of War. I'm gonna vote God of War. I think it's definitely COD. Their audio design is nuts. You know, it could be a lot better because I have played shooters with better audio design than Call of Duty has, and I've played 2 games that are smaller than Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 by a significant amount, both that kick the shit out of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's audio design. Both Escape from Tarkov and Hunt Showdown obliterate Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's audio design. Elden Ring has some great audio design, not soundtrack, but audio designs itself. And, you know, I kind of went, yeah, at Elden Ring. God of War Ragnarok, yeah. Gran Turismo, I mean, it's hard to impress me with engine noises, okay? So, like, maybe it is good audio design, but it doesn't mean anything to me. Best score and music. Oh. Nominees for outstanding music inclusive of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack. A Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Metal Hellsinger, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. These are all pretty good choices, but Metal Hellsinger's on here. I understand if you are not a metalhead, if you are not into metal music, but this is a music game. The whole game is built around the music. The whole thing. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 soundtrack is really good. Elden Ring soundtrack is very orchestral, the same way almost all From Software games are. It's pretty good music, but it all sounds very, very similar, and it's not super impressive to me. I will say that Elden Ring's music and just a lot of From Software's soundtracks in general are really good for their games. They have these big, grandiose, epic pieces for, like, as the boss fight builds and stuff. But I don't think it's necessarily, like, an incredible score in music. Plague Tale Requiem, also very good. For me, it's between these two, between Metal Hellsinger and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Probably, I'm just going to go with Metal Hellsinger, though. But they're really good. It's really great for the game, but outside of it, it's not good to listen to. I mean, if you don't like the genre of music, sure. But non-metalhead, it's super easy to not feel anything from a good metal soundtrack in a game for how overused they are. That's very, very fair. Varied tracks for games and Xenoblade games. Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles has a really solid soundtrack. I could see this one. Honestly, I could see any of these winning, but I also see them winning for different reasons. So, best art direction for outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forgotten West, Scorn, and Stray. It's not Elden Ring, okay? It's not. It's not going to be Elden Ring for best art direction. Okay? I don't think it should be. I don't think it'll win either. I feel Xeno probably would not win because of Animu Weeb nerf. Yeah, you know, you're not wrong. Real says cat. Stray actually does have a really good art direction. Stray does have a really good art direction. Why not? To Elden Ring. So, Elden Ring's art direction is, it's not bad, but it's also not something that I think gets an award for best art direction. There are specific, like, bosses that are pretty outstanding, and very specific set pieces that are like, you're like, oh, that's a really cool shot. But Elden Ring otherwise is a very generic looking high fantasy world with high fantasy character, a low fantasy world with low fantasy characters. Like, you're a dude in armor with a sword, and you're fighting your way through a castle against, like, not super unique looking enemies. So Horizon was pretty good. Elden Ring is super generic, and that's the problem why I don't think it wins, is that it's not that they did a bad job with it. They did a good job with really generic stuff. It's really good, but nothing you haven't seen. Yeah. God of War Ragnarok easily could win. Lots of, like, you're going to the different realms. All the realms are very different. They look very different, and they're all very well made. Horizon Forbidden West is actually a pretty significant marvel in terms of art direction, because Guerrilla Games actually really kind of just set the bar in trying to showcase what a significant open world experience can look like, and they did a really good job with that. You know, Schwahn is a really unique art direction because of all the stuff they took from H.R. Geiger, but it's also gross. And I think it's such a controversial release, and I'm not sure enough people played it that it gets that art direction. Stray has actually got a really, really good art direction in it. As much as I like to poo-poo on Stray, I can't take that away from it. Both in terms of visual presentation and the overall consistency in its art direction and the presentation that it delivers, it's really strong. It's really strong. Elden Ring beings did really kind of blend in with each other, save for boss fights. Seems like a real recurring... It is. It's definitely a recurring thing in Soulsian games, and it's one of my largest criticisms of the Dark Souls series specifically. And I put Elden Ring in that. Elden Ring, while it is not Dark Souls 4, in a lot of ways, it is Dark Souls 4. I want Schwahn to win, but I think it's between Elden Ring and God of War. Stray was too much of a one-hit wonder type, in my opinion. Well, in terms of in terms of art direction, Stray's really good. I think there's a lot of complaints that you can give against Stray, but I don't think that the art direction is one of them. I think that is one of the largest strengths that Stray has, is its art direction. I think it's one of the reasons that anyone even talked about Stray, was because it was the cat game that looked really fucking good visually, that it had such a strong art direction. In terms of art direction, being a one-hit wonder is an advantage. It's true. I mean, it's one of the reasons that we are taking away from Elden Ring, because Elden Ring is not a one-hit wonder. Elden Ring looks like a really good version of Dark Souls, in that it doesn't look special. So, you know, I'd actually not be surprised if Stray won this. And I'm actually going to vote for Stray in this category. The only game, like, I think the games that have the least chance of winning are actually Horizon Forgotten West and Schwahn. But I think that any of them could win. Best narrative. For outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game, your nominees are A Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, and Immortality. So, we can remove a couple of these. We can remove Horizon Forbidden West, and we can remove Elden Ring. Elden Ring has a narrative, okay? It does have a story. but it is not presented in a way that I believe it will win this category of outstanding storytelling and narrative development. You have to dig to find the story in Elden Ring. It's there. It exists. It's pretty decent once you find it. But it is not something that just a straight playthrough with people that are not used to trying to find the narrative in From Software's games will be able to pick up on. Now, mind you, a large portion of the weight of the vote here is from the gaming news and review outlets, so that might not, they might have that weight involved here, but I don't believe that Elden Ring or Horizon Forbidden West win this category. Horizon narrative Elden Ring, get the fuck out. Horizon story was like, part 3 is gonna be fucking cool when we get there. Yeah, I really enjoyed the narrative Horizon Forbidden West if you ignore the last 10 minutes. So that leaves us with A Plague Tale Requiem, God of War Ragnarok, and Immortality. You know, I think this game actually deserves a lot of the credit for this category for best narrative. Athena, you would actually probably love Immortality as a game. It's just like a note there, something you can jot on your little notepad. You might want to consider giving Immortality, it doesn't even need to be on stream. You might just want to consider giving it a look and playing it yourself. So I'll put that little note there for you. But I don't think that it's a big enough game that'll get enough attention that it'll win this category, even if I think that it genuinely could win this category. And then that leaves these two, which, you know, I didn't expect these two games to duke it out as much as they have been as we've been going through these categories. I really didn't. A Plague Tale Requiem and God of War Ragnarok are both the second entries into what were impressively powerful entries that honestly just surprised the ever-living hell out of people. Like, don't get me wrong, God of War 2018 is a fantastic video game. It's an incredible game. It's got an incredible story. The story is one of the things that makes that game so damn good. But before God of War 2018 came out, looking at the previous entries in God of War, if you guessed that God of War 2018 was going to be the incredible narrative experience that it was before it released, then either you're lying to me today or you just saw something that a lot of us were otherwise wondering about. Game's great. God of War Ragnarok is the conclusion of that story and is also fantastic. The story does not mean narrative by itself, though. That's fair. Narrative by itself, Requiem, but storytelling in a gameplay manner, God of War should win this. God of War's 2018 story felt super derivative in 2018. I thought it was overrated at the time. I could see either of these winning it. You can see either of them winning it heavily. I don't know which one I think will win. I don't know which one should win. So I'm going to vote for Immortality just to give the vote to the genuine ultimate underdog of all of this category. I don't believe they will win. I believe it'll go to A Plague Tale or God of War, and I don't know which one. Best Game Direction. Awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. Outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forgotten West, Immortality, and Stray. Let me just tell you right now, none of these games, none of them, like, none of these games are innovative at all. They are all good versions of things that have already been done, okay? There is no innovation in game direction or design in any of these games. They're all really good. I have issues with Stray, actually. Omit Stray from that last statement. They all have pretty damn good creative vision. And I'll include Stray in that statement. But I don't believe any of them win in terms of innovation in game direction and design. At all. Stray, just because I like the game design and direction. I want to say Ragnarok should take this, but this is tough. Doesn't deliver on its direction to design. You're right, Eve. That's the problem that I have with Stray almost entirely. It doesn't deliver in the way that I think the game should have delivered. And I feel like this category is hard because I don't feel like any of these actually stand out against the others. They all stand out as a good game, but I don't think any of them stand out against the others. Like, in terms of, like, if you're scoring all of these games strictly as outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design, they're all just, like, fucking 7 out of 10s. I think God of War loses a point for innovation only because it's a sequel. God of War 18 did some artsy-fartsy shit, but it doesn't get recognized as such. And I can agree with that. I can agree with that a lot. Man. Yeah, I don't even feel like any of these stand out in a way that I feel is like, you should win, but you will probably win, or you could win. I'm just like, man, just fucking roll a 10-sided dice divided by 2 and just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, man. Just go into Google random number generator and just pick one. Let's remove the innovation in game design, game direction and design, and just focus on the outstanding creative vision. It's not Elden Ring, in my opinion. Elden Ring is just a really well-made open world Dark Souls. That makes it sound mediocre. It is not. God of War Ragnarok. I feel like God of War Ragnarok is being hurt by being just, like, it is such a perfect continuation of God of War. Same thing with Horizon Forbidden West. Immortality doesn't do a whole lot that is new. It's really good creative vision, though. It's also in a space that's very limiting. Stray's biggest creative vision is that you're a cat. Suffers from success. I mean, you got the emoji there, Eve, but that's actually not a bad way to phrase it. I'll go with Stray. I don't know who wins. God of War is hurt by none of us playing it. It's only been out for a week. Okay, a little bit longer than that, but all right. It's the big boy time. Game of the year. Recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. Who? Not fucking Horizon Forgotten West. Well, and you know, as like absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields, A Plague Tale instantly loses. Like, if you're including technical fields, A Plague Tale is a really beautiful game, but it does not push the envelope anywhere in terms of gameplay, like how the game is played, and it runs like ass. Okay, our options are A Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, there we go, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Which of these games delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields? So, you know, the meme on the internet is that God of War Ragnarok and Elden Ring, just these are the two that are duking it out. This is Goku versus Frieza. This is whatever, you know, major fight you want to have. In terms of who's going to win, it's one of these two. Okay? It's one of these two. It's Elden Ring or God of War. I don't believe that people are going to get down to the nitty-gritty, like, nuts and bolts of, like, what defines the game of the year or anything like that. I believe that this is strictly going to be what game has the most 10 out of 10s, what game has the largest, you know, circle jerk sessions around it. It is not Plague Tale. It is not Forgotten West. It is not Stray, and it is not Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It is God of War or it is Elden Ring. It is one of those two games. One of these two will win. If they don't, I will be absolutely shocked if it is not Elden Ring or God of War. And here's the interesting thing, though, is that God of War, I could see being hurt by it being so, it is on the absolute cusp edge of the Game Awards nomination cutoffs. So like we've already talked about, there's a lot of people that haven't played it yet. It's still so new. Elden Ring, on the other hand, is on the other end of the cutoffs. It's way in the early part of the year, and it makes me wonder how many people, despite this game being the only fucking thing that anyone talked about for 2 months, I don't know how many people will be talking about it today for this purpose. I feel like both of these games have things that are against them, of that there's been so much that has come out since Elden Ring released, and this game came out so recently. Your vote goes for Xenoblade, but weeb nerf. I feel that Xenoblade pushed the consoles to its limits. I agree. I do believe that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is held back by the Nintendo Switch, but I feel like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 really heavily showed off, like, this is the absolute limit that you can push the base hardware of the Nintendo Switch to. And I think that outside of the low native resolution of the game, that is the only complaint that exists within Xenoblade Chronicles 3. If the Switch could run Xenoblade Chronicles 3 at 1080 60, I think that there would be almost zero complaints to be had about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So what game do I think will win? It's Elden Ring or God of War. I honestly could not, for the life of me, even begin to maybe tell you which one of these games actually comes out on top. I think it's a literal coin flip. Entirely. 100%. What game do I think would I vote for out of these games? I'd probably actually vote for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is probably one of the best JRPGs of all time. It is an incredible game, an incredible experience. It handles some very mature concepts that JRPGs don't always approach in a good way. And it's got such strong themes in it and such brilliant it is such a brilliantly defined JRPG game that if it wasn't on the Nintendo Switch and wasn't limited in the way that it is, I'd just be like, this is just one of the games that everybody should play. Even if you haven't played Xenoblade Chronicles 1 or 2, this is just a game that everyone should play. That said, because it is locked to the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch does hurt it a little bit in terms of its overall presentation, it's harder to recommend it because it doesn't look as good as it should and could. But it is easily one of the best games that came out this year without room for genuine discussion. And outside of the limitations that the Switch places on it, which are strictly only in resolution of the game, it still runs great and it still looks really fucking good despite the limitations on it. The game is phenomenal. Imagine if Xenoblade was brought over to other platforms the way Persona 5 did. Yeah. So I do believe it'll go to God of War Ragnarok or Elden Ring, though. All right. So, that took a hot fucking minute, didn't it? Holy goddamn. So that is the Game Awards 2022. Sorry, I'm doing a quick thing over here on the side. I apologize. So that is all of the nominations. Is there anything that I feel got snubbed this year? The one that I saw everyone talk about was Kirby. I did play Kirby. Kirby was pretty good. Do I feel that is there a way that I view categories? Is there a category that I feel that Kirby got snubbed from? Do I feel like anything else got snubbed? Actually, okay, there's a game that got absolutely fucking snubbed, okay? Signalis. Signalis should have at least been in, like, best indie game, okay? Is there any... Why don't we have a best horror game category? The fuck? Why is that not a category? Horror games are so fucking popular. That's weird. I feel like that is an interesting absence of a category. I wonder what Xeno Dude is going to do next. Good question. Horror thrown in action. I mean, yeah, pretty much. Because who cares about horror? A lot of people do. I know you're memeing, but a lot of people genuinely do. It's a massive category now. It's the rap of movies and games. Damn. Oh, harsh. But yeah, Signalis, I feel, got snubbed. I think that there should have been a nod to Solstice somewhere in here. I do think that Solstice should have been given a nod, at least. I don't know if it would have won anything, but I do think that that is a game that deserves more credit than it gets. What else came out this year? I'm surprised V Rising didn't get a nod somewhere in here. It's not done yet, so I would have had the same complaint with it that I had for what fucking game was that? Oh yeah, it was in Sim and Strategy with Dune Spice Wars of early access games getting kind of, you know, not enough attention. Platformers. Well, that just goes in action adventure. Anything else that came out this year that I think didn't get credit it deserved? I'm looking at a list of games that I have personally played that came out this year. I'm happy to see that As Dusk Falls got as much attention as it did. I think that game is definitely deserving of some eyeballs on it in a meaningful way. Personal bias, I would have liked to have seen some sort of nod to Potionomics. I don't know if it would have won anything, but I think that Potionomics did genuinely have some spots that it could have went into. I could have actually seen Potionomics go into the best sim and strategy game. I would have put Potionomics over top of 2 Point Campus or Victoria 3. What was the other one that I mentioned? V Rising. Yeah, where could V Rising have went into? Signalis absolutely should have been in best debut indie. Absolutely should have been in there. I could have seen it over Norco. I say that only because I don't know enough about it. I could put it over Tunic as well. I think that's about all I feel genuinely, like, didn't get attention that I think it should have deserved. Definitely Signalis, 100%. I'm just kind of surprised that V Rising wasn't mentioned anywhere. Like, not even a little bit. Because that was such I mean, don't get me wrong. The game kind of went real quick. It came out and everyone went, holy shit! And then there was just nothing about it ever again after that. I don't think enough people touched Potionomics for it to get the attention that I feel that it deserved. Well, V Rising was a one-hit wonder for 1 month, at best. A couple of weeks, maybe. But the biggest snub definitely is Signalis. With how much I've seen people talk about that game, and how much that people have just, like, ranted and raved about the game, rightfully so, I'm amazed that it wasn't in here anywhere. Fall Guys best ongoing content. All right. That's enough of that. Oh, my God. And I think that's about it. Biggest snub is definitely Signalis. I could have seen where Kirby should have gotten some more attention. Yeah. All right. So. Close. Home. Everybody, that is Game Awards 2022 nominations and predictions. It's going to be, at least from the time of this recording, 18 days until we actually see who wins. December 8th. What day of the week is that? Let's take a quick little look. That is a Thursday. All right. Still think the biggest snub is Warframe, personally, but Signalis is good. I just don't know enough, personally, about Signalis. Do I have any bets this year around? Well, I'm not placing any bets on any wins. But the thing that we will touch on real quick is the Game Awards is also one of the largest announcement platforms for upcoming games. For world premiere. I better see some Kojima shit on the 8th. Been missing him the past few years. What is his next game supposed to be called? Next Kojima game. It has a name, doesn't it? Not Death Stranding 2. That's not what it is. Thought it had a name. Overdose. That's what it was called. I think we absolutely will see something for Hideo Kojima's next game, whether it's called Overdose or whatever else, just because Kojima himself has been teasing shit about his next game, including people that are in it. So we could absolutely see something for that. I think it's about time that we see something for that. What else? We'll probably see more in terms of Square Enix. Probably see some more stuff about Forspoken there. We'll probably see some more stuff for Final Fantasy 16. We'll probably pretty likely see something for Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. I don't believe that we will see anything for Kingdom Hearts 4 or Dragon Quest 12. In fact, that's something that I will place a bet on. Of that, I don't believe that there will be anything for Kingdom Hearts 4 or Dragon Quest 12. I believe that Square Enix is too absorbed with the Final Fantasies, I'm including Forspoken in that I don't believe that they are marketing anything for Kingdom Hearts 4 or Dragon Quest 12 at the Game Awards or even soon. If either of those games does get a trailer, 5 gifted subs. But I don't believe for a second that either of those games will even be blurbed at those games. Square Enix is going to focus on everything that they have over the next... Oh, don't worry, CVDub. My VODs are saved and published on YouTube. You don't need to clip shit. So, Kingdom Hearts 4, Dragon Quest 12, if either of those get shown off at the Game Awards, 5 gifted subs, but I don't believe it otherwise. Dragon Quest should be getting something next month, but in Japanese, so it wouldn't be at the Game Awards then. But even then, I'd be surprised. Just because I think that Square Enix has too many major releases coming out in 2023 for them to have Dragon Quest as well. Or Kingdom Hearts 4. So, what else could be in there? Or what else do I think might not be in there? I will place a bet on something that I think could be in there. Okay? And if it is there, I am betting for it to be there. If this is their 5 gifted subs, and that is Persona 6. Persona 4 came out in 2008. Persona 5 came out in 2016. It is 2022. Which means that if we follow that same release window, relatively speaking, Persona 6 should be out somewhere around 2024-ish. I think Persona 5 actually released in Japan in 2015. So it could, obviously, they don't do regional releases anymore. So it would be a worldwide release. So Persona 6 could release in 2023. I think we probably would have heard something about it by now if that was the case. So I think we'll probably see a 2024 release for Persona 6. And I think we could see that get announced at the Game Awards. Just waiting for Dead or Alive Extreme 4. That was something that was mentioned recently, wasn't it? That they are remaking Dead or Alive and something else? Or that they're looking at it? Don't think I'm even joking when I say it's a decade too early for Kingdom Hearts 4. Maybe a spin-off game made by someone else. I think a decade might be a bit of exaggeration. So, Chrono Trigger remake, I don't think it's happening. If a new Grand Theft Auto is showed off, I will do 3 subs myself. A new Grand Theft Auto at all, or do you specifically mean GTA 6? Like, when does GTA even get announced? Depending on how early the leaked materials that we received are, we might see Grand Theft Auto 6 get announced not at the Game Awards, but at E3 2023. I forget what the other game that they were going to remake was. Dead or Alive and something else. I don't remember what it was. I will place... This is a free bet for me that I don't even have to commit to. And if I'm wrong, I'm just happy. 5 gifted subs if Bloodborne port/remake gets announced at the Game Awards. It's not happening. Fuck you. But I can dream. It won't happen. There was also talks of the Metal Gear Solid remake. I don't know enough about anything with that to place a bet on it. Is there anything else that I think could be major? Let's do a quick Google search on announcement predictions. Game Awards 2022. Let's see if anyone else has any predictions of what might get announced there. Silent Hill, maybe? Silent Hill already got announced, so that's not going to be it. All of the Silent Hill remakes and shit was just announced like a month ago. So, Game Awards predicting the Game of Year winner. That's not what I want. I want to see if there's anyone else that has announced world premiere. World premiere Game Awards 2022. Let's see if anyone has that in there. Everyone's just talking about the nominations. I guess not. Probably have to find another YouTuber or something that does it, so. Trailer, though? Yeah, maybe. I'm trying to think of things that I would bet on that might be questionable. You know, things like Persona 6, Bloodborne remake, Babylon's Fall 2. Oh, baby. Fucking slaps... Big ass numbers. No. I'm not even gonna bet because, you know, if I make a bet of like, oh yeah, 1,000 gifted subs if Babylon's Fall 2 gets announced, right? Like I am not making that bet because Square Enix is dumb enough to fucking announce that shit, right? And I'd be like, fuck, no. I will do another 3 if Platinum Games announces another game. I will not bet on that. And the reason, like, I don't believe Bayonetta 3 just released. And I don't think that they are ready to announce their next game yet. I do believe that Platinum Games' next game is probably closer than we realize. And I think it might be something like Astral Chain 2 or something published by a company that is not Nintendo. But I don't believe that they are announcing their next game at the Game Awards. The Last of Us Part 3? I don't think so. I think that's probably farther out than we realize. I'm not going to place a bet on it, but I would like to see Pragmata be at the Game Awards. That's a game that I'm keeping my fingies on. Let's see. We'll do one last check before we wrap things up for the Game Awards discussion. Where is VG 24/7? Let's go all the way down And let's take a look at what games are... God, so many games. So these are to be confirmed 2023 release dates. I'm just going to take a quick little peek. Let me see if I can get this into a size that you can read. Oh, we'll probably see a big... Well, okay, actually, I don't know if we'll see anything for Fire Emblem, but there's probably going to be a Nintendo Switch Direct somewhere around the Game Award time, because they're going to want to do a nice big advertisement push for Fire Emblem. Actually, we'll probably end up seeing in December a Fire Emblem Direct is what I imagine that we'll see. We will see a like 20-minute long Nintendo Direct dedicated to Fire Emblem Engage. Overwatch 3, because 2 is already kind of a disaster? No. No. I would like a new trailer for Wanted Dead. I intend to play that game. We'll probably see a trailer for Wild Hearts. Square Enix might throw something for Octopath Traveler 2 up there. Alright. 5 gifted subs if there's a fucking trailer for the day before. Okay? I'll commit to that one. I don't believe it's happening. If it does, I will happily do the 5 gifted subs. It's not happening, but I want this game to maybe possibly exist. So we'll place that bet. Bravely Default 3. I feel like the company that did Bravely Default just did a game that wasn't Bravely Default. Maybe not. There's not a good way to look, apparently. I thought they were working on something else, though. Valkyrie Profile 3. Oh, man. Yeah, I have heavy doubts about that one, too. What else is in here? Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom won't be there, because that would just go at a direct of some sort. Could very easily see a trailer for Starfield. We could probably see a release date for Starfield. Same with Redfall. I'd really like to see a trailer for Pragmata. Pikmin 4 would be at a direct. We might see something more for Payday 3. Definitely like to see something for Witchfire. Witchfire would be a good choice for the Game Awards, especially if they have a release date for the early access launch. Yep. What else we have in here? Oh, man. Hyenas is going to fucking be there, isn't it? Fuck. Yeah, we'll probably see a trailer for Hyenas, and we all can go cry into our Xenomorph blankets. Gunbrella? I don't know what that is, but I want to know. I'm just going to post that in here, and we'll take a look at it in a second. Oh, we could probably see something for Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl, if it's closer to release. I know that there are still devs from the Stalker team that are trying to work on it after being after having to evacuate their offices. Holy shit, Hell Is Us. God damn it, I want a trailer for that so goddamn bad. I want a gameplay trailer for Hell Is Us so bad. Final Fantasy 16. Flintlock The Siege of Dawn will probably be there. I hope this gets a release date announcement soon, because I want to play that real bad. Good chance of seeing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. If they're still committed to this 2023 release date, release window, we'll probably see something for Suicide Squad, because it's about time for them to start doing their marketing push for it. Lies of P will probably see there if they're still wanting to do their marketing push, especially for 2023. This game has a lot of eyes on it, a lot of attention going into Lies of P. Beautiful Joe 3? No. I didn't even realize Beautiful Joe 2 existed. Did it even exist? Star Wars Battlefront 3. Diablo 4? Yeah, maybe. Since BlizzCon was just like not a thing. Ooh. What about Like a Dragon 8? What about Yakuza 8? Now permanently named Like a Dragon 8. Do we get to see that at the Game Awards? It's not out until 2024. Oh, man. I would love to see it. Oh, Avowed. Avowed and Fable. I would love to see either of those. I can't keep placing bets because some of these have such a high possibility that I'm going to end up with owed 50 fucking gifted subs if I keep placing bets on this shit. But I could see Avowed and Fable both having trailers, and I would love to see them have trailers. But the full Fable, like, new Fable game and Avowed, yeah, I'd like to see that. I could see either we could see the Wolverine game, the Wonder Woman game, or the Iron Man game. I don't know if we would see all of them. So, one of those could happen. There's Wonder Woman. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake. Just give it up. Crimson Desert was just announced that it was delayed, so I doubt we'll see that. I would love a release date for Replaced. I don't remember the name of the Star Wars game that's being made by the people that did Detroit Become Human, but we might see another teaser for that. I believe that game is still pretty far out, though, but we could see a new teaser for it. Star Wars Eclipse, is that what it's called, Vandashar? You just named that? Okay. No, Survivor Eve is Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which is the sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Star Wars Eclipse is the, narrative game made by the people... What the fuck is their name? The Heavy Rain, Detroit Become Human devs. Quantum Dreams. Thank you, Cerulean. I understand that Quantum Dreams are a very, very controversial development studio, but I'd still like to see some more information about that game. Space Marine 2 would also be cool. Gothic would be cool. There it is, Star Wars Eclipse. Marvel's Midnight Suns, that has a release date. It's in December. The Silent Hill games, we might see more for those. Crisis 4, maybe. I don't know. Crytek's really slow developers, so. Dragon Dogma 2, no. That just got announced that they're working on it. It's not, we won't see anything for that for quite a while. We might see something for the finals. You know what we might see? We might see... I will place one more bet, okay? I will put one more bid down. 5 gifted subs if we see a proper trailer. It can't be a teaser. A proper trailer for either of Dragon Age 4 or Mass Effect 4. I honestly don't know which one of those is coming out first. I have no idea what BioWare is fucking doing right now, which one of these we can actually expect. Dragon Age 4 was announced before Mass Effect 4, but for some reason it feels like Mass Effect 4 is closer, and I don't know why. Probably because it is easier. I don't know. But yeah, if we have a proper trailer for either of those, I honestly don't expect to see either of those. But that'll be my last bid, is 5 gifted subs on either of those. I'd love to see Perfect Dark. You just mentioned that, Vandashar. I'd love to see something for Perfect Dark. That'd be excellent. Dragon Quest 12, no. Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake, maybe. Maybe. Can see that one. What else do we have in here? Is there anything else that isn't a new announcement? Everwild, that game is in development hell. Routine, maybe. Hollow Knight Silksong, give me a fucking release date, please. Doke V also got delayed, so we won't see that there. Real, you mentioned the Elder Scrolls 6. No, we won't see anything for Elder Scrolls 6 until after Starfield comes out. And even then, we won't see anything for Elder Scrolls 6 for a while after Starfield comes out. Bloodlines 2, yes, but that game is also went through development hell, so there's no real way of knowing when and where Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is going to actually arrive. So I couldn't even begin to have a conversation on it. So Anyway, thank you if you're still watching this video, because this was long as hell and we rambled a lot and we talked a lot, and I loved it. I had a great time. I hope you had a great time. That was the entire discussion over the nominations, the potential victories for the awards, the winners for the Game Awards, as well as potential world premiere announcements. We got some subs on the line. If you want a chance to get one of those gifted subs, it's on our Twitch channel. There's a link down in the description below. If you haven't already typed out several comments telling me how I'm wrong or an idiot or how you agree or disagree, now's your chance to be reminded to do so. Please leave your thoughts down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you and what your thoughts are. If you want to keep the conversation elsewhere, two great places to do so are Discord and Twitter. And on Discord, we actually have a channel where you can just discuss these things. We do a lot of reaction videos. You can place links to stuff that we could react to. But yeah, please be sure to check back in. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like. If you want to catch future videos, please subscribe to the channel. If you watch one of the other videos on the channel, or if I see you in the live stream, thank you and enjoy.